Hi everyone, today we're going to study sketching the hyperbola with center at the origin, transverse axis on y-axis. Let us define some terms. A hyperbola is the set of points such that the difference of the distances of the moving point from two fixed points is constant. The fixed points are called foci. The line passing through the foci is called transverse axis. The points of intersection of the hyperbola with the transverse axis are called the vertices. The center is the midpoint of the segment connecting the foci. The line passing through the center perpendicular to the transverse axis is called the conjugate axis. A chord of the hyperbola through either focus perpendicular to the transverse axis and terminated by the curve is called the latus rectum. Asymptote is a line which has the property that the distance from a point P on the curve to the line approaches zero as the distance of P from the origin increases without bounds. Here is the strategy in sketching the hyperbola y square over a square minus x square over b square equals 1. Please note that the y variable here is positive while the x variable is negative. The sketch will be a hyperbola with center at the origin and transverse axis on y-axis. The first step is to locate the vertices. The coordinates are 0, plus or minus a. We can get the value of a by taking the square root of the denominator of the y square. Letter B is to locate the ends of the conjugate axis with coordinates plus or minus b, 0. We can get the value of b by getting the square root of the denominator of the x square. Now let us locate the foci in step C. The coordinates are 0, plus or minus c. Using this equation, c equals plus or minus the square root of the quantity a square plus b square. Letter D. Construct a rectangle parallel to the coordinate axis through vertices and endpoints of conjugate axis. In our figure here, this is our rectangle. For E, let us draw the asymptotes through rectangles diagonals. Here are the two asymptotes. The equations are y equals plus or minus a over b times x. In step F, find the length of latus rectum by this formula, 2b squared over a. Letter G, having drawn the asymptotes and plotted the vertices, and knowing that the hyperbola is symmetric with respect to both axes and to the origin, we can make a sketch of the curve. And this is now the sketch of the hyperbola. For the eccentricity, the equation is E equals C over A. Let us see this example. Find the vertices, foci, eccentricity, equations of asymptotes, length of latus rectum, and sketch the graph of hyperbola 9y square minus 4x square equals 36. First, let us convert this equation into standard form. It means the right side must be equal to 1. So let us divide this equation by 36. So this is now the hyperbola in standard form. Y square over 4 minus x square over 9 equals 1. Take note that the y variable is positive and the x variable is negative. It means this is a hyperbola with center at origin and transverse axis on y-axis. Let's begin with taking the vertices. The a square is the denominator of y square, so that is equal to 4. Getting the square root of this equation, we can get now the value of a equals 2. So the coordinates of the vertices are 0, plus or minus 2. Plotting these points, we have here the x and y axis. This is the origin with coordinates 0, 0, and the points 0, 2 and 0, negative 2 are plotted respectively. Letter B are the foci with coordinates 0, plus or minus C. Using this equation, we can get the value of C. Substituting the values, a square is the 4, while b square is 9. So 4 plus 9, inside this big radical, we will get 13. So the square root of 13 is 3.6. So the foci have coordinates 0, plus or minus 3.6 respectively. Look at these points. Here are the points. Here are the foci. We can get also the endpoints of the conjugate axis. That is the b square, which is the denominator of x square, which is equal to 9. So b equals 3. Here are the points, the negative 3, 0 and the 3, 0 respectively. Letter C is the eccentricity. The equation is E equals C over A. Substituting the values, we have 3.6 over 2. So this is 1.8. Next are the equations of asymptotes. The formula is y equals plus or minus a over b x. Let us substitute the values. So we have y equals plus or minus 2/3 of x. Next, let us draw the rectangle that is parallel to the coordinate axis, passing through the vertices and the endpoints of the conjugate axis. Here is our rectangle. And then, let us draw the asymptotes through the diagonals of this rectangle. Here are the asymptotes. Letter E is the length of latus rectum. The formula is 2b squared over a. Let us substitute the values. So we have 2 times 3 squared over 2. So the value is 9. So the latus rectum passes through the foci respectively. Here are the latera recta. And then we are now ready to sketch the hyperbola. This is now the hyperbola. And this is our final answer. I hope you learned something from this video. See you again next time.